If you had the opportunity to live in a children's wonderland, would you choose anywhere else? We don't just say, we do. It's the Stain City way.
Hello and welcome to Real Talk with me, Anele, coming to you live on SABC3 where the stage is yours. So my guest today, she's a phenomenal woman. She came into the spotlight in 2010 when she joined a popular Lagos radio station, Rhythm 93.7 FM, as the host of The Graveyard Shift. But get this, in 6 months, she worked herself up to the morning drive show. Her witty on-air banter garnered her a lot of fans who would follow her faithfully to her YouTube vlog. She was the first Nigerian to be nominated for Nickelodeon Choice Kids Award in 2013. She was also nominated for the Nigerian Entertainment Awards twice. Her vlogs have got titles like 5 Signs to Know You're a Side Chick and Watch How to Take Special Care of Your Man have attracted a total of 4 million views. Nigerian radio personality, television host, vlogger, and now author Toke Makwina joins me in studio. She's in the country promoting a brand new book on becoming. We welcome you to Real Talk.
Oh my God, Anele. I almost turned to look for who you were talking about.
She's just like,
but thank you.
Is this me?
Is this me?
Is this me?
And this is exactly what it's about. Because sometimes we work so hard and we don't take the time out to take stock. You forget the journey.
Yeah.
Just hearing you talk about it, I thought, wow. But thank you so much. That was a very warm welcome. Thank you, South Africa. This has been a very exciting experience for me. I love the fact that South Africans have been very open to me.
Yeah.
You guys are lovely people. You're so warm.
Do you know what's funny? Because I've been like tracking you, right? Because I knew you were coming on. So I'm tracking you and I'm watching everything you're doing. And it's like people talk about you and you're not and you're not. And then when they say author, you almost shy away. You're like, it's like you can't believe that you're an author.
Because I never set out, I mean, you hit the nail right on the spot, you know. I never thought in my life that I was going to, I never had a plan. I'm as real as it comes. You know, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I knew that at 18 I was going to be doing this, or at 21 I was going to be doing that. You know, and I like the fact that my life has always taken me by surprise.
Right.
Because there's certain things that I would think that I should be doing or I want to do, and then it's God's plan. And He always just gets through the door and just completely changes everything around.
Yeah.
So I never thought I would author a book because I was that girl who would go to book lunches and sit at the back and just eat all the nice food.
Yeah,
and
like, there's free wine, I'm going there.
Because I always kind of felt like people wrote books for either a status reason when they're leaving office, and you know, I thought like I was still too young.
Or they're retiring.
Or retiring.
Yeah.
And I was still too young to have an autobiography because I'm like, you know, my life is still a long stretch.
Yes.
But then God had, you know, another plan. And then I remember when I heard it in my spirit that year, because I tell people every single year, and I'd like people to take this as well, you know, maybe you can try that, because it's also sort of like a way to keep stock and be thankful. So every single year I have this long list of things that I write to God, and because I'm a Jesus girl, let's just put that out there and move on from there. And you know, my faith has been a major force in my life.
Yeah.
So I write out everything I want to do yearly. Like
so you write at the beginning of the year?
At the beginning of the year.
Okay.
And let me tell you what that does. So you go through the year with the list behind, you know, your mind. Oh, I want to do this. I want to have a talk show.
Yeah.
I want to do this. I want to buy a car. I want to do, you know, and at the end of the year, I bring out that same list.
And see what you can tick off.
I sit down on my bed and I take off the things that happen. But the interesting thing is I take also the things that happen that I never imagined and I never even prayed for. So it's like a gift back to myself to be thankful and to also make me very leveled. So I remember at the start of that year, when the Spirit told me you're going to write a book, I was like, this is not me.
A book?
Book, please, you know.
But was it good for you? Was it like therapy? Because, you know, your parents passed away and then you went through a terrible marriage. And not once did I hear you say, it was terrible, I'm sorry. It was shocking. In fact, you and I are going to talk. I don't know how you stayed with that man. But anyway, but I find that when you write things down, it's therapy. So do you feel like you finally got the therapy that you should have been going for?
Again, I felt like, for me, it wasn't like I was jotting certain things down. I wrote a lot. And there was some voice notes. Because in that moment, I was going through a very dark hole. And what really got at me was the fact that out there, and this is a responsibility that I like to share with media girls, you know, and I'm happy that we're sitting here and having this conversation. People look at us and think we have perfect lives. People see the glitz, the glam, Anele on TV, her shoes are nice, her dress is pretty, and all of a sudden they think that is your life. But behind closed doors, we do grieve the way they grieve. We go through certain things, and we have our little black boxes as well. So for me, going through what I went through, it's not a new thing that would happen, you know what I mean? But then it happened in such a
public space.
People had the liberty of going to their homes and just closing their curtains and crying to themselves. And I had to have a face for the public. And people would say to me, you're so strong, Toke, you're so strong. But I wasn't always strong. I was working, I went to work the next day after everyone was talking about me because I needed the coins. I didn't want to be heartbroken and broke. No, and as real as I needed to work to keep the money because I needed the money. I knew that this was my new normal and hey, I can't go through a heartache and then pack up my life and my career and be broke. And no one was giving me money. So
but if everyone is speaking about you, and I mean, I know it's sore and it's tough, and obviously you love the man, but if everyone is speaking about you, to a certain extent, you're like, well, this is great for publicity, but it's bad for my heart, but at least now everybody knows me.
To be honest with you, I never saw it like that. Because if I had time to prepare before it became news, maybe I would have planned like a vacation, throwing up bikini pictures like, ooh, I'm living. But I went to bed one way and woke up and my house was on fire. So I didn't have the time to think about the fact that people are talking about it and it's making you famous. You know, you walk into a room and people are hugging you and it's like, are you okay? And they're like, no, are you really okay? And that would just be like, I'm fine.
I'm fine. But now, so you're a media personality and I know that parents always see us before we see ourselves.
Yes.
When your dad used to look at you, he used to see a lawyer. Yes. Why did he see a lawyer?
Because I couldn't just keep quiet, I guess. God rest his soul. I was very young then, but my dad always thought I was going to be a lawyer. He used to say to me, when I get into trouble, you would bail me out. There were times that he would literally have to give me a newspaper and tell me to sit down and read just to keep me quiet. Or there were times where he would knot the lace on his sneakers and he would knot it really hard and tell me to loosen it because he just wanted to keep me quiet. I asked all the questions. I just couldn't keep quiet. I was the girl who would talk and talk. My report card in school, Toke could be doing very well if she just learns to talk less. I remember how many times I went home with that and I would get a knock or, why can't you keep quiet? If it's your books, you would not know it. Now all you know is to talk. You know, but it's funny because now I talk for a living and I get paid to talk. So it's also a lesson for parents who are watching this. If you realize early that your child has a gift, you know, it's nice for you to want to also guide and lead them, but let them leave as well. Imagine if I became someone who just hated talking because my family thought, keep quiet, you're always talking. Just maybe I wouldn't be here today.
And you never wanted to be a teacher like your mother?
No, I never thought teaching. I don't think I mean, teaching was never anything. Nah.
Well, your book is teaching.
It is teaching, but
in a way.
And I always say to people, we are all preaching a sermon. As a fashion designer, whatever you're sewing, your aesthetics, it's just you're preaching something to the world. As a TV presenter, this is your gift. This is your platform. You're giving something back to the world. So we're all preachers. We all don't have to stand on the podium and preach, but you know, your lifestyle can preach a different message and so on. So you're right. So this is
in a way,
teaching.
yes. I mean, you've been to the UK, you've been to the US, you've been to Ghana, and now you're in South Africa, all because of this book, and you are spreading a word of some sort, right?
Of hope. I think it's more because people come out to hear me speak, and little do they know that I'm eager to also hear about them. So for me, I sit there, and I'm interested in the journey of the people who are in there. So in all our book launches, we have moments where people introduce themselves and talk to us a little bit about their journey. Because what that also does is for every other person who's sitting in there and who came in there burdened and feels like my situation is the worst thing ever, you have no idea until you hear the next person next to you who's talking about their journey, and you can also learn from them. So I learn from you as much as you come out here to learn from me as well.
Now I know you're sitting there, you're like, what happened? What happened? Because we're just talking around it, aren't we? That was my plan. Now that I've got you hooked, I know that you're going to join us after the break. We'll be right back. And welcome back if you've just joined us. I'm in conversation with Nigeria's finest. She's classy, provocative, she's a media personality, Toke Makwina, who has just written a book on her journey of self-discovery and self-actualization. Is it not pressure, the fact that you're called Nigeria's sweetheart?
I think I'm warming up to it now. I've heard Nigeria's princess, radio queen, all sorts of things. But it's a humbling feeling, and it's one that walked its way from the bottom. You know, I know the value of hard work. I know that nothing was handed to me. And we're in this business, so we know how fierce it is.
Yeah.
The industry will try to knock you down, regardless. Either you're in Hollywood, you're in South Africa, or in Nigeria, or Namibia.
It's tough.
It's a tough business. And then it's almost like it's, you know, the men have it easier.
Yeah.
Because there's like 5 slots for women. And we're so many women trying to, you know, get into that same
Those
space.
5 slots.
And then the mistake that we make as women and as African women is we then begin to fight ourselves instead of embracing ourselves and nurturing ourselves and pulling ourselves stronger. Because when we pull ourselves, then we can all win. So I was that girl who, regardless of what any other female has done to me, I would always be a girl's girl.
Yeah. Did you get that from your mom? Because I know she worked 2 jobs, you know, and she had incredible work ethic.
I think both my parents were very hardworking individuals. My dad, God rest his soul, worked with the government. And even at that point, I remember when he got his second car and, you know, he would drive the car as a taxi. After work. And I didn't even know that. And I know he had these brown hats that he would always wear to disguise himself because he probably didn't want people to recognize him. But he did what he had to do for the family. And my mom would teach in the morning. When she's done teaching in Abuja, she would take a flight to Lagos to go and buy drinks, food stuff. She used to bake as well. And then she would take a night bus back to Abuja, same day, and be at class at 8 a.m. the next morning. And she would supply drinks to a chain of hotels in Abuja back when I was young. So my parents were hard workers. Nothing was given. And it broke my heart that they didn't live long enough to sort of see, you know, the fruit of their hard work. But I hope that they're in heaven having a glass of whatever
it is they serve up there.
Looking at all of us doing really well. You know, as I said earlier to someone, people thought I held on to my last name when I got married because of the brand. But it was much more deeper than that.
For it was me, your dad.
I felt like my dad died before he got to see who he wanted to become. You know, I'd seen letters where he wrote to his brother who lives in England, and he was saying his brother was complaining about having a hard time in London. And my dad kept saying to him, you know, I need you to just be strong. I'll send you money because my daughter is leaving school next year and I want her to come to England to further her education. And he had those big plans for all of us, you know, and then all of a sudden death happened. So I watched how things quickly changed and I felt like if I could just give him that, you know, just have his name written in the stars, just know that you stopped, but there was a Makinwa who just went
carried
further,
on.
you know.
But okay, you were 8 years old when they passed away, right?
Yes.
And it's a big thing to lose one parent. I mean, you lost both your parents at the same time.
They were buried on the same day. And they used to
joke about it.
It's so weird. I remember how, you know, I was much younger and, you know, the crop of 8-year-olds today are so much more smarter than we were growing up. There was no exposure to as much technology as they have now. But I even still have some memories from when I was young. And my dad would say things like, if I'm gone tomorrow, how would you take your family? And my mom is like, we're going together.
We'll die together.
We'll die together. And they had that wish. They were buried side by side. You know, it was a tragedy because I'm the age that my mom passed on now. And it's a very weird feeling because you have anxiety attacks, you feel scared sometimes. You know, at that age, she had 4 children, but I don't have any.
You don't have anything.
And, you know, at that age, she, you know, literally had gotten married and stayed married and, you know, she was industrious. And I think at least I can boast of having a career. But it's a very humbling feeling as well because you realize that life can change at any time.
Do you feel like you stayed in your marriage longer than you should have because you watched your parents love each other so well?
Well, I wouldn't say that because my marriage was just a year.
18 months?
Thank you for counting, Anele.
I was out the grade 1, 2, 3, okay, 18.
Yeah, it was roughly, it wasn't about that.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone likes to fight for something and, you know, you keep, either it's a job, either it's a child that is, you know, misbehaving. You don't throw away your kid. You keep fighting till you feel like there's nothing to fight for anymore. At that point, that was what I was all about, you know. We'd been together for so long, and then we finally got married, and I thought, this is the dream, man, you know, and I had to work at it. And again, as Africans, you know, we don't necessarily want anyone to know that all is not well at home. You know, we have that shame culture, which I want the book to totally
eradicate,
get rid of, because people are so ashamed and so frightened. People don't want to be judged. You don't want people to think you're weak just because something did not work out.
But now wait, this man didn't pitch for your wedding, what, 2 times? And then on the 3rd time he pitched. Those 2 times, do you not say to yourself, this guy's here to play games with my life?
Well, I guess, you know, when you're in love, you know, and when you're young and foolishly in love, sometimes it would cost you some certain things. And I have no regrets, to be honest with you, because I feel like everything happened the way it was supposed to happen for me to get to where I am now. And if it did not happen, if I didn't get married, perhaps I'd be that girl who would always wonder what it felt like to be married to him. So that had to happen. So we had to do it. So that now I can look back and feel like, you know, been there, done that. He's a great guy. We're just not, you know, great people
not your
for each
guy.
other. Just not my guy. And that's what a lot of young people need to take out of every situation. You might want that person so bad. Doesn't mean the person is bad, but they just might not be aligned with your destiny. And sometimes things have to fall apart for greater things to fall in place. So I don't have any regrets.
You guys were together for 14 years, eh?
Thereabout.
Would you say that he was emotionally abusive?
I wouldn't say. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I feel like it was a journey, and then, you know, as we're in relationships without counting how long it would be for, and you have ups and downs. Come on, you know, you have great times, you have bad times, you misunderstand each other, and then you understand each other. So I wouldn't say that. I would say that, you know, I clearly did not know who I was, and I did not know the kind of strength that I had, and I'm happy that I had to find out in the way that I found out. You know, as I said to you earlier, I wouldn't want it to be something that someone else would tell me, because I wanted to go through with it. You know, he's a great guy. I wouldn't say he was emotionally abusive. We went through some tough things. And, you know, love sometimes is hard, you know. And
But listen, as I was reading your book, every time you say your phone rang and it was a cousin or your friend, and they'd ask you, hey man, are you and this guy still together? And then you're like, oh.
we all have that in our lives.
You're like, what has he done?
You know, when you're in that relationship and people are like, are you guys still together? Your heart is like,
you're like, oh, I know
why?
that. You're like, why are you asking me?
Why are you asking me? You saw him somewhere?
Like,
with who? How? You know, and then we all go through all of that. And that's why I said young, foolishly in love, because everyone, if you would like to be real with yourself, you're falling deeply in love with that one person who just didn't love you back in that way. And for some people, it was quickly, oh, you don't love me, I love you, bye. You know, for some other people, it took a while. You know, and the day you wake up is your morning. So no one can tell you. And I say this because when someone said to me, do you know when to say enough? The truth is, your enough is not her enough. And
but
it's not
also,
his enough.
it's difficult for you to know it's enough, because every time he'd mess up, the way he'd come back, like at 200 kilometers an hour with every apology in the book, I don't really blame you for like going back.
Yeah, but you know, it's, as I said, it's a journey, and I would not take anything from it because it all worked. Now I can smell it 20 miles apart. Like when someone is giving me lyrics and I know that, this one, you are trouble. I can tell from the beginning. And I'll be like, thank you. I don't need this trouble right now.
Do you know what's funny? So, your Nigerian accent came out there.
I love it. You know, I'm African. And you know how we African, Nigerians are very hard. So, you know, when somebody is trying to give you that whole steez from the beginning, you can sense it and you're like, nah, you know, so it's all an experience. And, you know, for someone who's watching right now and who might be, because you look at the case with the South African girl who was killed by her boyfriend.
By her boyfriend.
It was so devastating. And, you know, anyone could judge and be like, why would you stay in an abusive relationship? But the truth is, everyone who is struggling with abuse of any sort is struggling, and they do not know better until they realize, until they come to that point, there's nothing we can do. It's like someone struggling with an addiction. We can speak, we can have interventions, we can pray, we can call.
But until they want to leave.
And then until you connect your head with your heart. Because what it is with we women is, most times, the struggle between your head and your heart, we let our hearts win because we're nurturing. And that's who we are. We're mothering. We're women. We're supposed to, you know, you nurture your job, you nurture your family, you know, so that we're givers. So it's very important that, you know, you begin to listen to your head, because it never tells you lies. If you sit back, even about your job, the people that are working jobs that they deserve better, you know that your earning power should be more. But we tell ourselves stupid things like, a bird in hand is worth 9 in the bush. At least I have this job. If I leave, where would I start from?
If I don't have this, then I don't have anything.
And you know, those are the things we tell ourselves to keep ourselves rooted in those positions. And sometimes that's why when I talk about my faith, I feel like sometimes God comes, you know, it's like when Oprah said, the universe speaks at you. You walk through, first time it's like a pebble hitting your head.
Then it's a whisper.
You miss it, then it's a whisper, and then the whole building collapses. So sometimes God literally needs to moving and cut it off. And I'm thankful for those times that God took me away from certain things that I thought I needed. Because left to me, I would still be there thinking, Father, this is what I need. So it had to happen publicly. I had to be shamed to realize that, you know what, girl? It's time to move.
Get out.
And I'm thankful for it.
Listen, a quick reminder of our weekly competition. 5,000 rands e-gift card. Ring a bell. Yeah, it's up for grabs. Today is the last day to enter. I'll announce the winner tomorrow, so enter. We'll be right back. And welcome back. My guest today is Nigerian media personality Toke Makinwa, who's in the country to promote her best-selling book on becoming, which is a tell-all about her life, her marriage, and moving forward after that. On Twitter, y'all are loving her. At Michelle Dancer SA says, Toke is so inspiring. I cannot wait for Saturday. I'll tell you what's happening on Saturday later. Toke gives us hope to those going through these difficulties. We're all women at the end of the day, as well as Heather Kanene saying, such wisdom. I wish SA had more celebs like her. Jeez, shots fired. Thanks for that. We just chop liver out here.
No, I mean, you guys are amazing as well. I shared with someone earlier, just when we were in New York.
Yeah.
Bonang flew out to be with me in New York, and she's such a blessing. You guys are so blessed because I mean, just the way we became friends.
You guys look alike. You do realize
she's
that?
my twin.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
You didn't. We switched at birth or whatever.
Yeah.
No, but it's so funny how we clicked off, and you know, we literally motivate each other so much. So she knew that I was out in New York doing the book tour, and she flew out to meet with me, and you know, she was there to help. And there was a night that I was having a really bad evening. You know, because sometimes
What was going on?
I don't even remember what it was. I think it was just one of those days where you just sit back and you're just like, you know, we keep working so hard, and sometimes you just come home at night and it's just so tiring. You're like, some days I just, you know, it's just from one thing to the other. And she said something to me. She goes, Toke, we need to begin to take stock. You know, it's very easy for you to be caught in the rat race of doing this and this and this and this and this without taking the moment out to really be thankful and appreciative. And she goes, no one has it perfect. Life is one big coping mechanism. And I find myself using that when things go crazy. Like, everyone is coping with one thing. For you, it might be, you know, certain things. For somebody else, it might be a sick child. For someone else, it might be struggling on the job. For someone else, it might be, you know, trying to get married. Life is one big coping mechanism.
Do you have triggers, like either something that happens that takes you back to losing your parents, or something, a song plays and it takes you back to your ex-husband? Do you have triggers like that?
Do you know the funny thing is, it's very nice that you asked that question, because I did not know that I was walking around with so much
baggage
strapped on and so much baggage.
Yeah.
Which is why when you asked if I was in an abusive relationship emotionally, I wouldn't sit here and point fingers, because I'm woman enough to stand tall and admit where I stumbled and where I failed as a woman and the things that I shouldn't have accepted in the first place. But it took this happening to me to take me on a journey back to the beginning. I was a very angry teenager, and I didn't realize that I hadn't gotten over the loss of my parents, because it happened, it was such a tragedy. They were so young. We're Africans, we don't really have shrinks, let's be honest. You know, people believe in either talking to God or, you know, just dealing with it, because life happens and we've been through so much poverty. I mean, look at what you guys have been through as a country. You know, in Nigeria, we have our own issues as well. So you never have that moment where there's a support system of, oh, your parents died, so come and cry on my shoulder. My aunt who took us in, she lost her best friend. That was her closest sibling.
But
so
it was
really
a brutal
tough.
way for your parents to die, though.
And that's what I'm saying to you, that I never really got over it, and that's why I was angry. It started to come out in different ways. I didn't realize that I was so angry at myself. I blamed myself for my parents dying. I felt like they didn't love us enough to stay. I felt like, come on, man, like, you had 4 children. At that point, why didn't you just choose to just stay alive for one of us?
How do you blame yourself?
I was young and stupid. I didn't realize that those were part of the issues that I had growing up. I had daddy issues. Perhaps that's why I was attracted to relationships that I shouldn't have been in. So I found out that when this happened to me, I had to take a journey through my life. I had to forgive myself first for being so hard on myself. I was just a girl. Do you know what I mean? And then in looking back now, with my mom lying on that sick bed, if she was given a chance to leave, did I really think she would want to go?
Should have taken the choice.
She must have
to
been
die.
afraid. And there I was blaming her for not just sticking around for raising us, or for my dad. They all said they were going to die together, and anyway, maybe they died together because they didn't want to be here. So it was a selfish thing for me to do. I had to forgive myself and then forgive every other situation that I had put myself through.
But in the book, right, there's two things you don't mention. Okay, one you don't mention a lot, and the other one you don't mention at all. The first one is you never mention that you feel that it would have been easier to be in a marriage if your mother was around because she would have been able to advise you. Do you feel like a lot of you is missing because your mother wasn't there to teach you how to be a wife?
I don't think so. I didn't write that because I don't think that is accurate, because I had a lot of mother hens in my life. You know, my mom's sister took us in, and Big Mommy never wanted me to divorce. She is your typical African woman who, you know, and then you can't blame them because they're coming from an era where women went through so much, and they went through it and acted like nothing was happening. You know how when we were growing up, you'd see a picture that depicts an African woman with a basket on her head,
a baby on her back,
dragging
in her hands.
And that's what they told us was strength. And then when you find people who are going through a licking and taking a licking, people would say, yes, her husband beats her, but she's there, she's strong. Her husband abuses her, but she's a strong woman. You know, she's been through hell. The man showed her pepe, but she's still there after many years. But that's not what I want to pass down to our younger girls. There's strength in being vulnerable. There's strength in standing tall and saying to yourself, you know what, I deserve better, and I'm going to find better. I'm an advocate for marriage. I love marriage. It's a very beautiful union. I would love to get married again. I'm not against it, you know what I mean? But I feel like
cautious.
I feel like people need to find themselves first. And maybe if I had found who I was and my purpose, I probably would have done things differently. And I'm okay to say this because I've forgiven myself for all the wrong steps that I took. And I'm in a happy place now, and I'm good.
The other thing you don't speak a lot about in your book is your career.
That was on purpose.
Is it? Because you mention everything like just a by the by, and then I got this, and I'm like,
Let me tell you why.
Why?
Because I feel three things. I knew that people were way too interested in my private business. I talked about the loss of my parents, and you'd hear people talk about unbecoming, and the only thing they talk about is my marriage. You know, people don't relate with those who are dealing with a loss of some sort. And number two, I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface yet, career-wise. Unbecoming is an open-titled book. There's going to be an Unbecoming a media mogul, an Unbecoming, you know, a mother, hopefully, Unbecoming, you know, a business person as well. So at the trial and error phase, where we're trying different things, and hopefully when we now get the model and it works, watch out for Unbecoming a media mogul. Because so it's going to come.
Okay, I'm glad you explained it, because to me it felt like you were shrinking your achievements because you were basically shrinking yourself in the marriage, you know, to try and, you know, elevate this man that you married to. So it just felt like the reason she's not talking about it is because that's the psychological state you were in.
I feel like, you know, and I said this earlier on a radio interview this morning, when people say to me, I don't see myself as a star. I think the moment you begin to think you've arrived, you're out the door. So I'm still working my way. I'm the hustler. I'm still hustling for the next gig, you know. So I see myself as, it's a good and a bad thing, because as you said when we signed on the show, sometimes we don't take stock of the journey, you know. But on the other hand, I never want to lose sight of what's important to me. I learned so much from my failures than I've learned from the glitz and the glamour right now. I remember the days when I would go for auditions and I would get doors slammed in my face. Yes, it happened to me. I remember the days when I wanted it so bad and I would cry at night and feel like, Lord, why am I not getting the big break? I remember when people just wouldn't pick me for hosting gigs, or people didn't think I was good. I started out on a graveyard shift and I felt like no one was listening to me. You know, but what that did for me was I became a better radio presenter. I made all of my mistakes overnight, and in 6 months, when no, you know, because I felt that way. You know, you feel like, because I remember I got my job with another lady who had auditioned, and she got the prime spot, and I thought, why not me? But I didn't know God was preparing me for a greater task ahead. So when you find yourself working your way at the bottom, do not despise your days of early beginnings, because you learn so much more from those days. So all the mistakes of leaving the microphone on, playing the music higher than your bed, I learned well. And in 6 months, I got on a daytime. I mean, I'm on a traffic show. The morning show is where the money for the radio station comes in. And it happened in 6 months. But if I had gotten to the morning show,
you would have crashed and burned.
I would have crashed and burned, because I didn't know anything. So I'm thankful that with my life, as I said to you, I might have all these plans, but God has always reined me in. I take the staircase and not the elevator, because sometimes when you go through the elevator, your mind is not ready once you land. So your mind and your head need to be connected.
Sometimes the floor opens, you don't realize you're on the floor.
Do you know what I mean? So it's easier for you to take the stairs, and you stop when you're tired, you breathe. It's hard, you're disappointed, you keep pushing yourself again, the flight is still so long, and you feel like, why me? But guess what? You keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing, because when you arrive, you can hold your breath now. You can bop your head and feel like, yes, I'm walking through this door and I'm calm. I've been through my failures. I've learned, and I know that I wouldn't make some mistakes again. So I'm really happy that it happened the way it happened. And even with my marriage, it was very important that this book came out because, as I said earlier, people feel like, you know, people who are famous have perfect lives. And it's important for you to know that we're as human as you are. And we do struggle. And for everyone who is famous, it's also important for you to let people know, people who look up to you, let them know that life is not easy.
Actually, here's what I want to ask you. Comparing the time frames, right, between the years you were with your man and you weren't married and the 18 months that you were married. So 18 months versus the 14 years. Which time was darker than the other one? You can think, wait, we're going to go to an ad break. Think about it. Breathe it in. We're going to go to an ad break. When I come back, you can answer the question. We'll be right back.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Toke Moments. My name is Toke Makinwa, and the problem is us women. You know, they tell you keep your relationships private. Don't tell anybody because you don't want anybody to jinx it. The only person jinxing it is you, your imagination, and yourself. Hello. I'm not saying you go about telling everybody about what goes on in your relationship, but in this crazy rat race of trying to keep everything so private and so on the wraps, you just might become a secret. Let people know you're dating, but not necessarily know everything about your relationship. So do not be a secret to a guy, because that's another danger. That's a risk, a high risk.
That's a risk, a high risk.
A high risk.
A high risk. Did you ever feel like you were like a hypocrite or a fraud because you were here doing these vlogs and giving relationship advice, and then the whole country knows that your relationship is like burning?
No, because I feel like who better give you the relationship advice? Someone who has crashed and born right in front of you. Do you know what I mean? So at least I can speak from experience.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like that. My vlogs have always been about, you know, not necessarily about me. You know, I can hear something at the hair salon. I can have a friend and I talk for 3 hours. And we all know how we talk about these things and act like we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So I'll say to myself, I'm going to talk about this on my vlog because, you know, we all go through different things as women, and the men go through things as well. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it was never, and I never saw myself in a bad marriage, because even up until the very last day that I was married, it's a journey. Your siblings annoy you, don't they? Do you throw them away? You have periods where sometimes you're not getting along with your mom, you're not getting along with your siblings, and that's just what it is. So I was never of the thought of, oh, my marriage is so bad, or this is so, you know, I wasn't being beaten. There wasn't oh my God, this is such a bad marriage. He's flawed, I'm flawed. And we're just probably trying to exist. So he came with his own baggage, I came with my own baggage, and we probably are just not meant to be together.
But when his mom says, because the mom was praying, and then she said to you,
you can't say that, because people need to go and buy the book to read it.
No, but
Galogu,
we're not giving anything away, Galogu. No, this is the point of the interview, Galogu, so that people can be enticed to go and get it.
Yes.
You can't walk around the questions, you must answer them.
Okay.
And yet you put it in your book.
Right, so bring the questions on. But
Galogu, I'm saying, when his mom says that, she prays that you find a man of your own, but you're dating her son, why don't you say to her, it's okay, I found one, here he is?
At that point, I guess I didn't even understand that prayer at first. I was like, what? And again, I think I suffered delayed reaction. You know, I don't think. Things happen now, and in 8 hours, I might be like, that's what that person meant. So I think it also comes from losing my parents early, because I think I suffered shock as a child. So things happen to me now, and when people are telling jokes or telling a secret, I'm the wrongest person to try to gossip with, first to start with, because I never get it. It might be 5 hours later, I'll be like, was that what she was trying to say? So it didn't really resonate at that point. I didn't really get it, you know, and we had a fantastic relationship. So I didn't think it was a me thing. You know, I just thought, you know, maybe she was just saying if it doesn't work out, then God will give you who you're meant to be with. And she was, you know, much older than I am. So it was never oh my God, do you now say that I'm not dating your son? Or, no, I never thought about it like that. And it came to me much later, and I thought, could this have been the reason why? You know, so it's...
And was it a big deal? Like in Nigeria, is it a big deal if you are introduced to the parents in the family?
Everywhere. I think everywhere. I mean, meet the parents. Movies have been done about meeting the parents. Either you're Caucasian or you're African, everywhere. When you want to meet the parents, everyone's literally, I want them to like me. You know, I want to put my best foot forward because that's what it's all about.
Because I just felt like he introduced a lot of people to his parents.
Well, maybe he did. I wouldn't know that. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't say that because I wouldn't know if he did. They never related with me like he introduced a lot of people to them.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. And how is the relationship with his family now?
They're good people. Everyone is great.
Still talk to them? Do they still call you?
Sometimes. If we feel like we haven't heard from you in a while, they can pick up the phone and call. I'm always open. So it was a tough time for everyone involved. You know, but as things begin to settle in, we realize that we've all been blessed. And you know, it's high time people begin to look beyond the struggle. I could be that girl who's looking at this one struggle, or I can be the girl who takes the lessons and I go forward and better myself with the lessons. And that's what I believe I've done.
And what crit did you receive about the book from like the, because obviously not everyone's gonna like it, and that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Come on, not everyone likes coffee. You know, everyone likes tea. You know, and you be too much of something for someone, and it's okay. It's not everyone you like. You know, so I don't go around dwelling on people who like me or who don't. But I knew at the point when I was going to do this, and when I felt like God had told me to do this, I was scared. I was mortified because I felt like, Lord, I'm not proud about this situation, and why would this be one thing you want me to share with the world? But now I know why. Because I meet people who walk up to me and tell me, your book gave me the strength to make that change. And if one person can have that change, then my job here is done. I also feel like, you know, we're Africans, we don't necessarily tell it all. But it's important that we begin to tell our story so that the world wouldn't tell it for us. It's important that we begin to control our narrative. You may not have a part to play in whatever happened in your life, how you were born, the jobs you had, or you know, the mistakes your parents made, or whatever happened as a child. But going forward, it's your duty to control your narrative. Take what is useful for you and leave the rest. Because life is long and hard, and you're not going to live forever. And we cannot keep, you know, I learned so much from Oprah. I think my biggest quote on forgiveness came from her, where she said, forgiveness is letting go of the hope that the past could have been any different. That sums it up. You know, you can either move forward accepting that this happened, but I'm going to control my narrative going forward. Or you could be the girl who is crying over spilled milk. You could be the girl who is replaying the situation. If only he loved me. If only I was just this. If only I was in that. What that does is you're exhausted. Regret is so exhausting. Do you know what I mean? So accept it. This is your new normal. It happened. I'm not proud of it. But it happened. I'm going to wear my big girl pants. I'm going to pray every single morning and put my best foot forward, and the universe will take care of itself.
You know, you didn't answer my question.
What question did you ask?
What crit did you get about the book?
Well, I think I kind of said that to you already. People were not open to discussing about their personal business. So it's almost like you're not the first person who went through this. And I always say to them, what did you do with what you went through?
Oh, because
So if you say to me, oh, there are men who have done worse.
This is the Nigerian culture. This is how it is.
The African
culture.
You know, why are you talking about it? Because people are going through worse. And I say to them, what did you do with your worse? Whose life have you made better? And I think that people just hate you for going through something similar and coming out, it should be better. For lack of I mean, I'm not trying to sound like I'm better than everyone out there, or, you know, this is not coming from an arrogant point of view, but sometimes people don't like you because they see what you've escaped. That is their current hell, and they're not ready to leave the hell. So they would hate on it because for them it's like, yeah, you know, my husband is probably cheating on me, and then there's this girl who wrote a book. But when I go home at night, I'm faced with those struggles, and they're not ready to deal with it yet.
They don't like the mirror that you're showing them.
Until they are. And as I said, you can't help everyone, you know. The day you wake up is your morning. The day you realize that my head and my heart have connected and my head won, that is your liberty, and that is your, you know, your gateway to freedom, and your life would never be the same again.
So we're going to take a quick ad break. Toke and myself will be back right after this, and we'll chat about her journey, self-actualization, and where you can get the book, as well as the book launch happening this coming Saturday. Stay with us.
Father, Lord, bless Shegun. Shegun must make money. Shegun must have this business. Who told you Shegun is your husband? So when God now finally answers that prayer, and Shegun meets Anne, who is his wife, who was filing her nails while you were praying and fasting, and sitting there hustling with him, drinking Gary. Oh, you now say that Shegun offended you when Shegun was just playing the game. All I'm saying is all those permanent situations that you're trying to create, you need to let them go ASAP. If the guy is not bringing it, honey, don't give off anything. Don't be quick to want to change your name. Don't be quick to want to give out your ATM pin. Don't be quick to want to get a joint account with an nigga who is not your father, your brother, your family relation. I mean, hello, where is that done? Are you mad? You know, are you crazy?
I don't know who that girl is.
It's you.
I don't know
I like
who
the
that
bank
girl
pin one. Don't be quick to give away your bank pin.
Girl, huh.
That's how quick it goes. I know us women. So you didn't. I said I'm gonna ask this question and I didn't get the answer. So with the years before you guys were married,
Yes.
and then the 18 months that you were married, which part for you was darker, the 14 years or the 18
I'd
months?
say the 14 years. We went through so much in those years. Marriage was over in the heartbeat.
Yeah.
So I'd say, you know, the breakup to makeup, it's tough. You break up, listen to sad songs, then he begs and you get back together again. Then you guys break up again. Then, girl, it's so exhausting. No, those years, yeah.
Did your sisters reach a point where they just stopped?
Everyone.
They were like,
I lost friends. This relationship is bad for you because it happens. It's normal.
I know.
You know how we have those friends who are in bad relationships or who are in situations that are not so great for them? Because I wouldn't say people are bad. I would say that sometimes two people are just not fit for each other.
Yeah.
And maybe the person where he's at right now in his life cannot give you what you need. So it's never going to work. It took a lot of controlling the narrative for me to get to the point where I'm not bitter. And I can also speak, not being emotional, but being rational.
Yeah.
You cannot give off what you don't have. If someone is busy trying to find himself and you are busy trying to find yourself, it's going to be a disaster. Do you know what I mean? So they cannot give you what you're looking for because you both are looking for what is not real with each other. So in a nutshell, I felt like, you know, those years, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know the power that I had. I didn't know my purpose. I was just, at some point, I thought I was just alive to just be in love with this one man. And, you know, a lot of time went by, but I'm really grateful to God because he restores. He gives you those lost years. He gives you those dark days, and he makes up for everything. God cannot take something from you and not give you something in return.
whose opinion mattered the most that they liked the book?
My family, I'd say, because they're very private. My sister works at a bank. My other sister lives in Norway, so she's like, do you really want to do this? But then every time each of them gave me a call after they read it, it was with tears and just admiration of, oh, wow, you know, even talking about our parents' death, it helped us to sort of deal with certain things. So
Yeah, because I know you guys never really spoke about your parents' death to each other.
we never,
You would
because
cry
everyone
together.
everyone just, it was just that big hole that no one dared to visit. And even now that, you know, I just got something called Zozo done. It's some spiritual healing, forgiveness thing, which is really good. I did it before I came. And, you know, in there, they were talking about forgiving yourself. And I realized, which is why I said to you that I had to forgive myself and forgive myself completely. Because we use that word forgiveness, but sometimes do we really know what it is to forgive? It means even if you're hurting and you know that this is such an uncomfortable place, you're at peace with it inside of you, knowing that this is only for a while. You know, and there's nothing you can do to change the situation, so you totally accept it and accept that moving forward, you got burnt, you'd look at those burns and begin to apply the balm and begin to tell yourself, this was my part in it, and this is what I would do differently the next time. So for me, my siblings, it meant a lot for me to have them read this and be okay with it. And, you know, my family was fine, and every other person...
And legally, you didn't have to ask anyone for permission, right?
I mean, I did have lawyers at the point that I was writing it, so we did,
Okay.
you know, we're good.
Just so you're not defaming anyone, you're telling your story.
It's my story, and as I say to people, you know, this is the story of my life. And in the story of your life, I had to bear it all so that people can relate with it in such a way that it's not someone that is far off, but it's someone that is sitting next to you. So we all have this person around us. Either it's us, either it's in our siblings, either it's in friendships or people that we know. And also to be a better friend to someone who might be going through something. So it was very important for me to sort of, you know, have all those, and we did cross our eyes, and, you know, we dotted the I's and crossed the T's. So we're good.
and just everything you've been through, it obviously makes you a better broadcaster, right? Because you're more honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's very funny you say that, but you're right.
Yeah.
You know, you definitely, and I think that a lot of us need to be a bit more honest even about our journey. I hate going to seminars where people are just telling you they've arrived. But tell me how you arrived there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to know about
what went right, what went wrong.
I don't want to know about the good stuff, because the good stuff is nice.
Yeah.
But I need the bad stuff, so that days when I'm having bad days, I can call you up and say, Anele, so when you went through this, how did you beat this? And how did you survive? I have so much respect for people who have walked through the fire and come out bearing buckets of water for people who might walk, you know, the same path behind them. And, you know, Michelle Obama says, when you walk through that door, it's not for you to shut it right behind you.
Let the next person in.
In. And you let the person in, not necessarily by, you know, them watching you, but by them actively seeing the way you live, picking yourself up after it fall and trying to move on to be a better person.
We're out of time, but
Yes,
I can't wrap the show without telling people
Yes.
where you're going to be on Saturday. Where are you on Saturday? Hyde
So we're
Park.
at Hyde Park Corner on Saturday. Starts at 4 o'clock. You can be a part of it if you'd want, or you just have to do is to send us an email. I know Sarah's going to be like, no, Toke, I don't do this, but I will. Okay, so send us an email to admin4@zebrasquare.co.za if you'd like to attend. I'm going to be there signing books and taking pictures, and of course, taking questions as well and answering.
If you can't make it on Saturday, get the book anyway. It's on Becoming, Toke Makwina. I think it's a great book. It's so honest and it's vulnerable and it could change your life. So get it for yourself. From me and the team, we'll check you out tomorrow, 5 p.m. SABC 3. Bye for now.
That's cheeky.